right, so we're talking about the power of slowing down, which is so ironic because I had a last minute meeting put on my schedule today at the hospital. So I had to jam over there. And as long as I was over there, I figured I might as well drop off some Christmas cards to some of the people I don't see very often. Then I sit down in the meeting and thinking how quickly I have to get back here from the meeting to teach this class. And I thought, oh my gosh, think of the class you're teaching today, Megan. And so I was talking to my coworker next to me, and we were talking about ways that we can practice slowing down even on days like today, where, like it or not, I had to be in two different places and I had to be a little bit rushed, but could I find slowness in other ways? And that's what we're going to talk about. If my mouse would work. There we go. So we're going to talk about, first of all, why should we care? Why do people care and talk and write and research about slowing down and the actual detriments of how our culture has really pushed us to go quicker and multitask all the time? So we're going to talk about why we should care. We're going to talk a little bit about your nervous system and your brain and why that's a part of why we're talking about this today. And then we're going to get into the strategies of different ways that we can practice slowing down, again, without having necessarily a slower day or crossing things off the to-do list, because sometimes that's not realistic, right? Sometimes we have crazy days. We have a lot on our to-do list, and all of them are important and we have to do them all. So how can we still find a bit of slowness? We'll talk through those. And we'll practice a little bit and we'll come up with a plan. So I'm going to move my chat box so I can see what we're doing. There we go. So when we talk about health and we talk about wellness and well-being, you'll hear about pillars of wellness, pillars of well-being, pillars of health. This particular slide calls it dimensions of health. Everyone's talking the same language, but some people say there are 6, some people say there are 8. Again, depends on who you're talking to, but they're all the same thing. Just some people will condense some of these areas into 2, where they might put spiritual and emotional together. So that's why sometimes you might see different number of pillars or categories of health. But in all, when we're talking about whole body health, whole body well-being, there are these various dimensions that we have to think through. There's physical, which includes your movement and your eating. There's social, there's financial, environmental, intellectual, occupational, which doesn't mean you have to have a job. It's what is your occupation in life? What do you do with your time? What is your purpose? Emotional and spiritual. And if you think about it, emotional kind of underlines every single one of these categories, right? If we are not emotionally centered and not emotionally well, we probably don't have it in us to go to the gym. Excuse me. We probably are craving sweet or salty foods and reaching for the wrong things and maybe not making the best decision because we're not emotionally well. We may be more susceptible to environmental triggers and social triggers. If I'm emotionally not well today, I may be a bit more uneasy around a lot of people, or I may be triggered by that one thing that one person said, whereas in another day I might not have been. So we're more susceptible. We're more susceptible physically as well. Our immune systems are more susceptible to actually getting sick when we are emotionally not well. Has anyone ever noticed that? If you've gone through a phase of really, really high stress and suddenly that stressor finally goes away, that's when you get sick, right? Is when we're out of that stress period and everything is allowed to let go, that we aren't well anymore. You may not feel a good sense of purpose. If you wake up in the morning and you're emotionally unwell, that occupational, intellectual side of things, you may not make the best decisions. You may not feel motivated. And so it's interesting that emotional, I think, is really the one that is tied to every single other category. And yet that's often the one that's brushed aside. Well, I'm just stressed out today. It's one of those days. It's this season, right? And we say that from the time Halloween happens. I'm in the season of stress. Well, why do we have to be so stressed and so fast and rapid in life for 3 months or for our whole lives? So we really need to focus on how to make that emotional segment a little bit better. And this is where I come to the hamster wheel. And we all know this phrase, this analogy, but think of these phrases. Do these sound familiar? I'm in a rush. Productivity, I'm not super productive today, or if you are someone who works in a work environment, how productive is your department? How productive is your schedule? Oh, I barely slept. More. My calendar is so full. I have a lot on my plate. Multitasking, I'm just multitasking right now. These have just become very normal, acceptable phrases in our culture, in our society. No one questions it. Like, why didn't you sleep last night? Why haven't you been sleeping well lately? It's just like, oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, that's how it is. But that is where we get on this hamster wheel of go, or chronic stress. We get in something called anticipatory stress because we're future thinking. I'm worried about what I have to do at that meeting later this afternoon. I'm worried about all my to-do list for tomorrow. I'm worried about Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas morning and all the things. And I'm not thinking about where I am right now. And this creates this go culture, which leads to chronic stress and hormonally elevated cortisol. This is what leads us to burnout. It leads us to feeling very unfulfilled because we never quite fulfill the thing we're doing. We're already moved on to the next thing in our mind. And it makes us feel very disconnected, which I think is ironic given how connected we are now, right? On our phones and social media, we're so hyper connected that we aren't emotionally connected really to anything. We're sort of disconnected everywhere we go. It prevents deep connections with people, with the thing you're doing. What is the phrase where it's called your flow state? Something that a lot of artists will talk about when they get in that flow state and they're just in it and they're creating and suddenly 3 hours have gone by. That's a deep connection with what you're doing. And we often don't get that anymore because we're going. We're too fast. It prevents meaningful experiences. We're not really caring about the thing we're doing. And I see this a lot with families with little kids where we're checking off the box. We're going to the mall to see Santa. We're going to go see all the different Christmas lights. And we have our check boxes for the holidays. And you're not really making a meaningful experience at any of them because you're just trying to do all the things. This can also actually prevent memory building. This happens a lot with people who are like, I know I did that, but I don't really remember doing it. Like, do you really remember the whole experience of going to Christmas lights last night, or was it just on your checklist? So this is something that when we're talking about cognition and meaningful cognition and cognitive decline versus a healthy cognition, people think, oh, I'm losing my memory. But oftentimes it's because we didn't make a good, solid connection with the thing in the present moment. We didn't lose the ability to use our memory and create memories. We just didn't create the memory to begin with. It prevents our ability to reflect and maybe make improvements moving forward because we're not really present in the current state. And it prevents presence. Like I said, we're just future thinking constantly on that hamster wheel and we're not in the moment. So this is what happens when we're on the hamster wheel. Here's what's physiologically going on, because it isn't just, I feel stressed. It isn't just, oh gosh, we're going through the checklist. Like, this isn't just something we're making up in the wellness world. This is truly what's going on physiologically in your system. Is your brain is chronically stressed. And stress is a good thing sometimes, right? Like, we have to have a little spike of cortisol in the morning because that motivates us to get out of bed. We have to have a little bit of cortisol to get things done. If we didn't have a little bit of stress with a due date, we never do the thing, right? We need to have a little bit, but we want them in spurts, not that chronic elevation, because we're always in the future thinking state. So those anticipatory chronic spikes of cortisol lead to our sympathetic nervous system always being on. There's no in and out. Sympathetic is your on stress nervous system. It's always on. It's on overdrive. No one ever turns it off. And so what happens is you become hyper vigilant. You're just always aware of everything. And this can create a lot of anxiety, especially for people a little bit prone to anxiety. It's just boom, anxiety on hyperdrive. And over the holidays, if you talk to anyone who lives with some anxiety, you'll hear them say all the time, the holidays make my anxiety go crazy. You become emotionally drained and sometimes just emotionally apathetic. You just don't connect and sympathize with other people and what's going on. You're just tired all the time. You also have an elevated heart rate and elevated blood sugar, because when we're stressed, the purpose, the idea, if you think back to the caveman days, is you can run away from the tiger. So we're getting heart rate and sugar into our system so we can sprint. But if that's happening all the time, all throughout your day, all throughout your evening, now we have hypertension, now we have insulin resistance, now we have a whole lot of risks of metabolic conditions. It also reduces our immunity. So again, this is that crazy phenomenon where you're stressed, and the second that stressor goes away, or you finally stop for a second, suddenly you get sick, because your body's trying so hard to keep up, and then your immune system just crashes at some point. So we are less able to fight bacteria and pathogens when we are in high stress mode, because nothing can recover. None of our cells can regenerate themselves. Your digestion also slows down, which is really interesting. And I think something that people don't often quite put the pieces together is that when you are in fight or flight and you have elevated stressors and elevated cholesterol, your body doesn't care about breaking down that meal you just ate. Everything is on pause so you can go for a sprint. So when we're chronically stressed, our digestion minimizes. So we get bloating and cramping and just kind of icky feelings a lot. People with IBS will tell you that if they're in a state of stress, they can feel it immediately physically. You might be a little bit more gassy than usual, and people just attribute it to, holiday eating. But there's a lot that is reliant on your stressors as well with digestion. The other thing with minimized digestion is you're probably not absorbing and metabolizing all of your vitamins and minerals. You're kind of eliminating them. And so that leads to your immune system not being as functional anymore either. Areas of your brain have reduced capacity at this point. So this is really interesting too. We have all these different areas of the brain, and obviously there's way more than I'm showing you on this picture, but there's your prefrontal cortex, which regulates your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior. That shuts down when cortisol is elevated consistently. It just like the brakes are put on this area of the brain. And so you become less empathetic. You make decisions less easily. You're kind of always in that, oh gosh, I don't know, should I go with this one or that one? I'm not totally sure. And you just don't make decisions. You lose focus. Your amygdala is the section of your brain that reacts to stress and emotions. And so if that part is shut down, we just don't react at all. We don't rationally think through things. We're always in a state of fear and alarm, just constantly. You're always on high alert. And then your hippocampus is where you learn and you create memory. So if this area is shut down, which it is when cortisol is consistently elevated, you create less memories and you are less creative. You're just kind of going through the motions. You're not really thinking outside the box ever, which is part of fun and joy. So all of these things are happening when we are in that hamster wheel, go, go, go state all the time. So what we want is the opposite. We want parasympathetic nervous system to turn on. And again, not all the time. We don't always want to be mellow and low key and just lounging on the couch all day long. We never get anything done. But we do want this to interrupt those states of sympathetic nervous system. We are more present, more grateful, more content. And I think this is an interesting thing. You don't necessarily have to be happy to be in the parasympathetic nervous state. You're just content, and you can build joy and happiness from there. You are more clear, you are more focused, you are more connected when you are in the parasympathetic nervous state. And all these things in the picture here happen physiologically as well, which is the opposite of everything I just said. Our digestion turns on, our heart rate calms down, our breathing and our hypertension risk slow down. We're more able to use our eyes and focus more. So our whole metabolic and brain system improve when we are in parasympathetic nervous system. This is when we're able to recover, repair, to be in a state. And you can't be this state if you are on the hamster wheel. You have to slow down. You have to stop the hamster wheel now and again. So here's, I think, a very important point. Slowing down does not have to mean doing less. And I love this little snail picture. Do you ever get tired of being slow? Never. I get tired of people thinking speed is the point. So focus less on crossing off the to-dos and focus more on the pace at which you are doing the to-dos. So in the doing more state of mind, we're working harder, We're feeling frustrated, so we work harder again. We're tired, we're drained, we're frustrated, we just keep going on the hamster wheel. Versus slowing down is simply a concept of pausing, reflecting, grounding yourself. Focus on the quality more than the accomplishments. Do what's needed to shift yourself, moving forward at your best and adjusting. So sometimes this does mean crossing things off the list in order to get there, but it doesn't have to mean that. So we're going to go through now, we're going to kind of shift, and we're going to look at various types of strategies that you can do to slow down. Everything I'm going to talk about moving forward is research backed, and so much research I could fill up slides upon slides upon slides. And all of the things I'm going to talk about can be done in very short snippets. You do not have to spend a weekend at a meditation retreat to practice slowing down, although that might be lovely, but you don't have to have that. Okay. So one thing that can really help you get into that parasympathetic mode, and that's what I mean by slowing down. I don't mean physically like slow your walking. I just mean like we're trying to get to parasympathetic mode. One is breath work. When you slow your breathing, you activate the rest and digest response. You activate parasympathetic, because guess what? It's a message to your body that everything is okay. You can literally trick your body into getting into parasympathetic system by slowing down your breath. Because when we're breathing kind of fast and in our chest and we're not really paying attention, we're just breathing quickly, we're telling the brain, I'm stressed, I'm getting ready to run. But if we can force ourselves to slow the breath down, all the message the brain is getting is, oh, we're cool now. We're good. We're just relaxing. And then everything else falls into place. Okay. So slowing your breath improves your HRV. If you're not sure what HRV is, it is a measure of your stress response. Essentially, it's how much time in between heartbeats. So it's different than heart rate. It stands for heart rate variability. And this is a really good thing. If you wear an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring, this is what they're using to measure your state of stress, as we want that HRV to be a really nice low number. I'm sorry, a really high number. We want lots of variability in between those beats. That's the point, is we want it to be really flowy and inconsistent. Our blood pressure also improves when we are in this state, when we are slowing down our breath. Our blood pressure can't help but come down, and we get cortisol down as well. There's something called cyclic sighing, which is called box breath, which we're going to practice here in a second. And this is shown in lots of research studies to reduce perceived anxiety. So it's used a lot in actually therapy for people with chronic anxiety. Is they force themselves to do a box breath of inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So box. We'll practice that in a second here. But when we do this 3 to 5 times, we immediately calm down. Our parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. And even those who suffer from chronic elevated anxiety feel an immediately acute sense of relief, because we slow down the heart rate. Slowing down our breath slows down our body. Okay, so let's practice this box breath. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And you're going to do it through your nose, not through your mouth. And you're going to try your best to do it in your diaphragm, not in your chest. Okay, so let's do it together. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. And you would start again at a 1 and inhale for 1. If you were doing that along with me, which I hope you were, just that one cycle, I imagine if you were really paying attention and being mindful, you felt some slight shift in your system. And you do that 3 times, 3 to 5 times. You can do this in the car before you get out of the car to go to that Christmas party. You can do this as you're lying in bed before you go to sleep. You can do this before a meeting. You can do this. It doesn't have to be an anxiety-producing event. It can just be something that you're going out into the world to do. Do this breath, slow down your body, tell your body everything is okay. Okay, so breath work Incredibly impactful, incredibly easy to do, very fast, very simple. You can do it anywhere at any time. It's in your back pocket. It doesn't cost you anything. This is my number one strategy for anyone trying to practice slowing down, because it slows you at any time during the day when you do it. And it takes 5 seconds. Well, it takes 16 seconds. All right, the next strategy that you can try is mindfulness. So mindfulness it's different than breath work. And it's not meditation either. And a lot of people think that they're the same thing. It's not. You can be mindful without meditating. Being mindful means that you are being present. You are paying attention to your present state, to your present activity, to your present conversation. And we are not thinking 5 steps, 10 steps, 15 steps ahead. That's what being mindful is. So when we're talking about mindful eating, it means chewing multiple times before swallowing. It means taking pauses between bites to assess our hunger and fullness levels. It means taking at least 15 minutes to eat that meal. So, and from a dietetic perspective, we bring that into eating, but you can do that during meals to practice slowing down. So a great one is just chew at least 10 times, count your chews. And if you're counting your chews, guess what you're not thinking about? You're not thinking about your next meeting. You're not thinking about tomorrow's to-do list because you're counting your chews. So it forces you to be present. Same thing with your pausing between bites, or maybe you pause, every couple of bites. Put the fork down and do a quick tummy assessment. How am I feeling right now? Do I want more? You can do this away from food as well, though. And that's what I love all these little spots here on this visual that I found, is finding mindfulness anywhere you are. If you're walking, pay attention to how your feet are feeling on the ground. Pay attention to things around you. I love the find 3 things rule. If you're walking, find and notice 3 characteristics of something around you. So if you're walking into the doctor's office, find and notice the color of a car and register it. Wow, that car has a very vibrant red color. Those doors opened side to side instead of me having to open them, and they did it very slowly. Oh, look, there's a person wearing a plaid button-up jacket that is brown and tan and white colored. It doesn't matter what it is, but find things to pay attention to and register that in your mind. Even better, try and see if you can remember those things after your doctor's appointment or later in the day, because then you can see if you're registering those memories. But that mindful movement simply means paying attention. You can do the same thing by paying attention to your body itself. How do my feet feel when they're walking? You can count your steps. How many steps will it take me to get from my car to the door of the grocery store? All those things, all they're doing is just forcing you to be present in the moment and be mindful. You can do a body scan. This is used a lot in yoga classes where you're laying there and they say, okay, start at your head. Imagine the feel of the top of your head, and you move down to your face and your nose and your neck, and imagine that you're getting a neck rub and a shoulder rub and feel it go down to your fingers. You could do the same thing while you're laying in bed. Just kind of do a body scan. Not necessarily how are you feeling, but just sort of imagine that you're putting your fingers on each place that you're going through in your mind. This brings presence. Okay. Visualization can be another good way to be mindful, especially if you're in a quiet space sitting by yourself. That's a bit more meditation. But I really, really like the mindful movement, the body scans, and the mindful eating. All of those are easy to implement because we're doing all those things every day. We're moving every day. We're eating every day. We're lying down at some point every day, so we can do these mindful practices. Gratitude is very well researched in helping our parasympathetic nervous system to turn on. You can do this in a bunch of different ways. You can journal. Journaling is very popular now, especially gratitude journaling. You can actually find gratitude journals out there that give you prompts. But what this does is it forces you to write it down. It forces it to come out of your brain. And so it's cementing it more. It's creating the memory. It's creating mindfulness within the practice of journaling. So here are some prompts that I like. Take a few breaths, slow down right here, right now, and ask yourself, what do I need right now? What signals does my body give me when I'm moving too fast? When was the last time I felt truly present, and what helped me arrive there? which younger part of me might be asking for attention right now? So these are more self-reflection prompts, but then you can get into, these are 3 things I'm grateful for today. These are three people that helped me today. These are 3 people I helped today. These are 3 things that I am looking forward to tomorrow. These are all aspects of gratitude. And it doesn't have to be 3, it can be 15, but I like 3 because it's at least a little bit, makes you think more than just one. So you can start your prompts with any of these, get yourself centered and mindful, and then do the gratitude. You can do this at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, or all of the above. And it's interesting to practice, to do some gratitude journaling at different times of the day and see when it comes more easily to you. But here's another one I like too that's not necessarily journaling. It's giving gratitude outwardly. So research has shown us, there was actually a really cool review done by Harvard on giving gratitude. And what they did was they had participants text or call one person every single day and send them a gratitude message. Hey, I really want to thank you for XYZ, or I love that you do blah, 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 or call them on the phone. But giving gratitude to someone else at least once a day. And what they showed was not only an immediate stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system, but after 3 weeks of this, they all self-reported feeling more perceived joy and less stress. Just the perception. Whether they actually had significantly lower levels of cortisol at the end of those 3 weeks, I don't know, but they felt better and more joyful. So I love giving gratitude. Another way you can give gratitude is giving prayer. Having a prayer before the meal, or just a thank you to the farmers for giving us this corn, anything like that, where you're giving gratitude to, the universe. It doesn't have to be to a direct person. It's also shown in research to elevate the feelings of gratitude and the hormones that go along with that. Rest and relax. This will help you to slow down, and it doesn't have to be, again, these huge, long periods of time that you're dedicating. Micro breaks are incredibly effective. Just 2 to 3 minutes of a break every 30 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes, actually. It's a longer phrase. So can do a lot for triggering your parasympathetic nervous system. So whatever you're dedicating yourself to doing right now, whether you're working on a project, whether you're going Christmas shopping, whatever you're doing that is likely bringing a bit of stress, especially in go world, you take 2 to 3 minutes every 30 to 60 minutes to do anything else that brings you a bit of slowing down. So maybe that's when you send your gratitude text. Maybe that's when you do 3 rounds of box breathing. Maybe that's just when you go outside and feel the fresh air and notice 3 things around you. All of those things can only take 2 to 3 minutes, count as micro breaks, and help you to slow down your day. There's also something called a digital detox, because even if we are sitting down, not doing our work, just hanging out, we're relaxing, but if we're scrolling through Facebook and Instagram and all those things, guess what we're not doing? We're not resting. We're not relaxing. We're having a cortisol spike. We're still in sympathetic nervous system mode. So getting out of that is really beneficial, even if it's just for a short amount of time. So these are some ideas for digital detoxing. A big one would be getting rid of a cell phone and just having a regular phone. You could do this for maybe late at night when you're home. Tell your friends and family, here's my emergency phone. It's a landline. At 9 o'clock every night, I'm going to turn my cell phone off. Even if you just take a break and walk away from it, every X amount of time, walk away from your phone if you're someone who kind of holds on to it. Schedule time away from your screen. I'm a big fan of this. At least 30 minutes before bed that is your self time. Your screen goes away, completely away. Maybe you turn off your phone, or you turn it into, there's different modes on different phones, but it can be like just emergency mode where only certain contacts can reach you and everything else doesn't ping you. And that's in your settings as well. So digital detox doesn't have to mean a whole weekend without your phone. It can just mean take breaks from the stimulation. And then sleep, of course, is so incredibly beneficial. There's something called the glymphatic system that essentially rinses your brain and is your detox, if you will, of your brain. This actually is a liquid that turns on in your brain only when you sleep. So only when you are in parasympathetic sleep mode can your brain detox, recover itself, create new lymphatic systems within the brain, and actually get better at being cognitively healthy, which helps us tomorrow with our stress and with our go, 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 and with slowing down. So the last thing I want to talk about is something called time dilation. And if you Google this, you'll actually find all these crazy things on like physics and going into outer space. Astronauts use this concept of time dilation a lot. It's like literally the physics of time and how we perceive time. So it can get a little wacky. But in psychology world, we use this, and I'm not a psychologist, but when I research in psychology studies, this idea of time dilation is how we perceive time. The faster we go through whatever we might be doing, all the stuff on the bottom happens. We process it less. We have less emotions tied to it. It's more in our subconscious than the front of our conscious, which means we're not really paying as much attention or building memories. It's more unfamiliar. It doesn't turn into routine. Have you ever tried implementing a routine, but you just were on autopilot when you did it and it never really stuck because you weren't paying attention to it? You feel like you don't have as much control over it. It is easier. It's much easier to not be present and focused. So there's a benefit, I guess. Sometimes you can have pain around it, but you definitely feel disconnected and alone. So some activities require us to go fast because of all these things. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But most of the time, when we're experiencing life, we want to be on the turtle side. We want to be going slower so that we are processing it. We're emotional with it. We're connected to it. It's familiar. It becomes routine. It just becomes pleasurable. So how do we force ourselves to perceive time a little bit slower? This is how. This is, I know this is a lot on one page, but this is from some really cool research done that was synthesized in Psychology Today. So here's the definition: is time dilation is when the brain shifts into present moment awareness and begins processing more detail per second, which essentially makes it seem like time is slowing down. So remember when you were a kid and Christmas, the month of Christmas, December, just was the longest, most amazing month ever. And now it's like, oh my gosh, Christmas is tomorrow. How do we change that perception of time slowing down? We can do that with these different things. Micro pauses, we just talked about that with micro breaks. They give yourself a chance to think for a millisecond before you speak, before you enter a new space, because it gives your brain a time to slow for a minute and turn off the cortisol for a second. Pausing between thresholds. This one is my favorite. Anytime you are changing a scene, I'm leaving my office to walk into the gym outside. I am getting out of my car to go to the grocery store. Anytime you're changing scenery, stop for a second at that threshold. It can be just 3 seconds to register something, see a color, see a texture, listen to a sound, just pay attention to something in that moment. It will boost your neurotransmitters and allow for more neural connections to happen. You're going to remember that moment and proceed more slowly through your day in parasympathetic mode. 60 seconds of stillness can reset that nervous system, which reduces your stress signals by 20 to 30% for the rest of your day. So just 60 seconds of just sitting or standing and not being on the move. There's something called the single task ceremony. Essentially, choose one thing in your day, even if it's very, very simple. It can be you're making your tea or your coffee in the morning, washing your hands for the first time during the day, opening your laptop for the first time during the day. Just pick whatever you do every day, pick one thing and make it a ceremony. Perform it as if it was sacred. Open that laptop slowly and pay attention to everything about it. You know, what does it look like? What does it feel like? It's so silly, but it forces the brain to practice that mindfulness concept and just slow down. I guess I copied this again, but pausing at thresholds, we talked about that. Taking a deep breath. And also this concept of listening to your skin. If you're in a conversation, if you're doing any task, pay attention to what you're doing with not just your ears. Pay attention to it with your back, with your skin, with your shoulders, with your feet. Like, what's going on with me as I'm doing this thing? Even if you only do that for a couple of seconds and then you move on, it's that constant reminder to your body of I'm being mindful and I'm okay enough to slow down and think about my body, which triggers those little blips of parasympathetic. So these are some things. This is, where was this one from? It wasn't Psychology Today. It was another study, a psychology study. But this gentleman, he's a psychologist, wrote down different types of things you can do as a self-assessment of, am I going too much? Do I need to slow down? So here are some self-questions. And you don't have to do them all. You don't have to do them every day. But especially if you're finding yourself tensing, you're not creating memories, you just want to slow down, ask yourself any one of these or more. Learn your physical cues of burnout. Does your neck tense? Do you get a tension headache? Does your heart race? Does your mind go all over the place? These cues help us, if we can recognize them, to
What do you get at McDonald's?
before we get to the bad point, right? So for me, it's when I'm not able to make decisions. When I feel analysis paralysis and I'm just like, and for little things like, oh, I don't know what I want for dinner tonight. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? When I start to notice that I can't make a decision easily is when I need to slow down. For my husband, he gets tension headaches and they're always like right back here behind his ears. That's when he needs to slow down. So learn your physical cues. Your body will tell you when you are going too fast and when you need to take that micro break or go notice something and be mindful or journal or breathe. Use a prompt. If you're not there yet, you're like, I don't know my physical cues. I don't know my body very well. Use a prompt and just make it routine. Set an alarm for every hour or attach a sticky note to your computer or whatever space you're generally in with the words slow down. Have a prompt that pops up on your phone every hour. Slow down and breathe. And do it for 3 to 10 seconds. Do whatever that slow down thing is and do it consistently when you get the reminders. It's kind of hard at first. You're like, geez, it's been an hour already. I got to do this again, but it suddenly becomes routine. Aim for 75%. If you're trying to complete all of your daily tasks at 100%, see if you can slow them down. Get through the list, but do them slower. I like this one. Run your mind in debug mode like a computer programmer. So whenever your mind races and you're just going a little bit too fast, take a step back and interrogate every single thought. So if your mind is like, okay, I need to get the gifts for the kids and I need to go to the grocery store and I need to plan that one thing and I need to get my Christmas cards out. If that's what's starting to happen, take each of those thoughts and interrogate them as if you were a computer programmer. Say, are you necessary right now? Are you functional? And you can even write them down on a piece of paper. A lot of people do this, they just write their thoughts down to get them down on paper and start deciding, do you need to be thinking about that thing right now? Or can you think about it tomorrow? Consider downsizing and saying no. So sometimes it is helpful if we just get some things off the list, or if we say no, or we create that boundary. It's not always possible, which is why we have these other strategies to just take a breath, take a pause, do the micro breaks, do the gratitude. But if you can, of course, it's going to help you to slow down if you don't have as much to do. Okay, so definitely do that assessment, but don't put the pressure on yourself that you have to get rid of everything either. Okay, so we're going to create our slow down plan. We are going to practice slow strategies now and find the ones that work for you. So you can do this now. You don't have to wait for the new year. You don't have to create a new year resolution about slowing down. Start now. Choose one thing from this list of the slow strategies and do it every day and pay attention to how your body feels from it. And does this work for you? Try the box breath today. Try it again tomorrow. Try it again the next day. The next day, try a slow exhale breath. We call this the 4-7-8, where you breathe in and you basically double the amount of time breathing out. So if you breathe in for a count of 4, you're going to breathe out for a count of 8. Let's try that. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out slowly. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is a slow exhale breath. Try that for a couple of days. Write down your gratitude. Give gratitude to others. Pay attention to 3 specific details. Count your chews. Pause at thresholds, which just means pause in between moving to a new scene. Have a 3-second pause before you respond to someone. Actually, in your head, if someone says something, asks a question, it's your turn to respond. Count 1, 2, 3, and we respond. Make a priority checklist. It doesn't mean you're not going to get through everything, but put them in order of importance. Have micro breaks every hour, just for a couple seconds to a couple minutes. Make slow down sticky notes or timer prompts. Work on your sleep. Literally walk slower. You just physically make yourself walk slower from point A to point B. You can even put on a timer and see how fast you normally go and go slower. Turn off distractions. If you are currently multitasking, turn off one of those tasks. Something that helps me, for instance, is if I'm really have to do a project, I have to turn my email off because otherwise I'm going to constantly bounce to my email. So find your distractions and do that. So here's your slow strategy list. Practice them. See what works for you to feel calm and slow. Implement a slow strategy at 2 consistent non-negotiable times every single day. So first we're going to practice them. First we're going to find the ones that work for us. Then we're going to start making a routine. Doing a box breath once at lunch doesn't necessarily help us for our whole day of slowing down. It's a good start. Ideally, I would love for you to do one of these around midday and one of these in the evening as we kind of ramp up in our normal days, but we want to start slowing. And then, of course, we can do as many as you want. Start paying attention to your burnout cues and write those down as well. So you have a checklist. Am I feeling a headache? Okay, yes, I am. I got to go do something slow. Do your self-assessment in the middle of the day instead of the beginning or the end. Usually at the beginning, we're feeling kind of sleepy and, starting the day, we might feel great. At the end of the day, we're tired. We're ready to go to bed. Do that assessment of slowing midday and then implement other strategies when needed. Okay, so I have a poem and a quote for you. So before we do that, we're going to do yet another box breath. And then before we go to the quote, we're going to do a slow exhale breath. I want you to practice these things. I'm already giving you practice. See, strategy number 1. So we're going to do a box breath. 4, 4, 4, 4. Ready? Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm just going to read you this really lovely poem. Slowing down. Lately, I'm noticing that slowing down is life-changing, eye-opening. I'm more effective when I take my time to bring full awareness to the task at hand. I can better hear when I stop to listen with patience instead of rushing ahead in my head. Planning my response, I can proceed with kindness. Feel genuine compassion when I take a moment to truly listen and understand another's perspective. I can choose more wisely, live more intentionally, if I pause to consider what aligns with my spirit. I can come back to myself when I take a break in my day, find a moment of quiet stillness, and just breathe. By moving through life at a gentler pace, I feel a depth and a width that I didn't before, and a profound gratitude for the wondrous experience of this present moment. Isn't that lovely? And I have another quote for you. So before we move on to that one, we're going to do one more extended exhale. So we're going to breathe in for 4 and out for 8. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly through your mouth, your pursed lips. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In all the chaos and hurry, do not forget to notice the beauty and miracle of this world. Slow down, notice, observe, be aware. Allow presence and awe to come back into your life. And with that, at the risk of telling you to think ahead, we do have some things on the calendar coming up. We have some sound baths. We have added an extra sound bath every month. So we now have 2 sound baths every single month for December and January, and actually February and March. We have our next webinar is January 8th. That is the inflammation evaluation with me. And we do have a myofascial education workshop where you're learning all about how to add breath to specific types of stretch for pain and tension. That is January 10th here in person. So the first one and the last one and the yoga mini classes are with Dolly. Those ones are here in person for a cost, very minimal, $25. And then the inflammation evaluation webinar is online for free. So let me pull up the chat if you have any questions. No questions. Good. That means you were being mindful and present and paying attention and not typing things, but I'll wait for a second. In the meantime, while I wait for a few questions, please let me know if you have topics that you would like to learn about. I am always happy to come up with new ways of looking at topics. So please let me know. Let me know about cooking classes. We do those every other month, and I love to know what you're interested in cooking. I do have the education calendar up on our programs and events page from January through June. So everything is there for you to register for, some things at a cost, some things for free. Just trying to give you lots and lots of opportunities for education and experience. Love all the teaching. Thank you. Glad. I'm so glad. That is my job. All right, everybody. Well, something is popping up. Will you be emailing today's slides after class? Yes, once I get the recording synthesized, I will send the link to the recording and the slides to anyone who is registered. Otherwise, it will be posted on our website. If you didn't register or is someone who was interested in it, you want to forward it to them, that'll be on the website probably by Monday. You are welcome. Thank you for the information in the slides. You're welcome. And a reminder to slow down, especially this time of year. Let me tell you, I needed the reminder too. It was good to make the presentation for you. All right, everyone, have an amazing rest of your week. Have an amazing holiday season. Enjoy the lights, see the lights, feel all the coziness of winter. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. And if I don't see you here in the center before Christmas and the New Year, I will see you in January. Bye, everyone.